All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 145 call with Jordan Stout. As always, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. If you could limit your turn to one question each, that'll help us get through everyone. We'll start with Mark Brennan.
Hey, Jordan, thank you for your time today.
Of course, thank you.
Hey, I wonder, where do you think you can get better this year as a punter and kickoff guy, given how successful both of those units were last year? I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. I feel like where I need to improve the most is consistency. I have the key elements of strength and speed, but if I can just get more consistent, I feel like that's going to put me to the next level.
Donnie Collins.
Hey, Jordan, I think last year during the summer, you said that it might be easier for the kickers and punters to than it would be for the other position players to kind of survive for that summer because you could work on your own. What was that easier as a process for you, or harder than you thought it would be?
Talking about last year when we weren't here.
Yes.
I feel like I was getting just as good at home as I could have here because most of the time in the summer, it's just on us. We're lifting and then we're going out and doing things ourselves. And I feel like I did the same thing at home. If I was here, I probably would have been pushed a little harder, but I feel like I got just as well at home as I would have here.
Joe Giuliano.
Hi, Jordan. You mentioned all you need is consistency. How much work does that entail, though, finding the consistency? Is it all these reps? Is it study? Is it watching film? I mean, how do you reach that point of consistency?
I think it's mainly studying and watching film and then just repetition. Like, I don't really need to go out and hit 60 punts a day. I just need to go out and do 60 drops or 60 drills. That's going to make me better. I feel like that's what I need to do to get more consistent.
Tyler Donahue.
Jordan, you handled those three different roles last year: field goal, kickoffs, and punting. We were all curious how that would work out. What was your assessment of your first college season doing all those things? And did you learn some lessons from the process?
I definitely feel like I learned a lot. And going into this season and even the summer, I feel like I learned a lot last season. I know how to prepare better for those three roles. And then I'm also working at field goal a lot more because I wasn't as successful at that as I wanted to be last year, as well as punt. I feel like I said at the beginning, the consistency was the issue. I had the leg strength and the speed. I just need to be more consistent.
Donnie Collins.
Jordan, what were you happiest with about your game last year?
I guess I would have to say kickoffs, but I wasn't extremely happy with any of the three. I feel like I have way more potential than how I performed last year.
David Eckert.
Hey, Jordan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. I'm just curious, you mentioned watching film. What are you watching for? What do you derive from film when, as a kicker or punter or whatever?
Well, mainly I watch where on field goals, I watch where my plant foot is, if I'm lined up to the right of the uprights or if I'm lined up completely straight, my legs swing, where I drop the ball on punt. It's just, there's a ton of little bitty things that you have to pay attention to. And I feel like that's pretty much what I watch in film. Nothing too specific.
Mark Brennan.
Jordan, on kickoffs, is the goal always just to get a touchback, or are there strategy things that maybe came into play on a couple of those that dribbled out of bounds a little bit, where you're trying to pin them down in the corner?
It depends on the circumstance. If there's a heavy wind in my face, some of the time we will sky it or we'll directional ride. It depends. I didn't mean to hit those balls out of bounds. That's honestly the part about my kickoffs I was really upset about, because I think when we scrunched the numbers, if I hadn't hit those balls, I would have been 95, 96% on touchbacks. The only balls I didn't kick in the end zone were the ones that came off. I hit too high on the ball and they shanked out of bounds.
Tyler Donahue.
Jordan, when Jake spoke a couple weeks ago, he talked about still splitting those field goal responsibilities and distance being a key. What's your understanding of where things are? Is it still 50? Is it defined as a 50-yard deal? Is it more of an kind of an open competition at this stage of the calendar? Can you give us some feedback on what you're doing with Jake and field goals?
We're both doing really well right now. It's always a competition. Nothing's given at any set time. If I perform better, then I'll probably kick. If he does better, then he'll kick. That's just how it is here.
Joe Giuliano.
Jordan, what's it like to having a fairly normal spring after last year? And what's that? I mean, just what does that do for your preparation and just getting ready for the summer and what comes after?
I think it's huge. Being around the team and just everyone being together and like talking and hanging out more, COVID dying down, it's huge. I feel like just the team being back together more has really helped us grow as a team.
New bias Wilborn.
Speaking of the normal, by the way, thank you for doing this as always. Speaking of the normal spring, what's it been like actually getting to work with the full unit? Have you been able to do that? And what have you kind of seen with the special teams unit on both returns as well as kickoffs?
Yeah, I mean, this is my first spring here because last spring was canceled. So, I mean, as far as I can tell, this spring is just like any other spring, the only difference being the masks that we wear. And what was your question about kickoffs and returners?
I was saying, what have you noticed with the kickoff team and returners? Who we should be looking out for? What have you seen?
I mean, we look good. We look the best that I've seen us since I've been here on not only those special teams units, but offense and defense. I mean, like all the guys are grinding out there. I mean, since I've been in college, I haven't seen anyone work as hard, a team work as hard as we are right now. And that's something that everyone's noticing, coaches, players, and we talk about it all the time in Leadership Council.
Mark Brennan.
Or not, on a lighter note, I'll be the one who goes there. Not long after the season, you posted on social that you cut your hair. What went into that? And, you had that other look for quite a while, didn't you?
Yeah, so I love the long hair. Growing it back out now. It's going to take a little bit, but I got the undercut where I got the sides cut, and I didn't love the way it looked because it just made my hair flat. So I decided to just cut it off and let it grow back out to where I have a full flow again.
Joe Giuliano.
Jordan, my last question, you talked about, I guess the camaraderie with your teammates finally getting all together. Was that something that hurt you guys last year, not really being able to see each other in the spring and then in the summer, being kind of regimented to your own little groups?
Oh, absolutely. That is, I think, the biggest impact on how we performed last year is like we weren't just playing for ourselves, we were still playing for the team, but not as much as usual. Usually, like when we get to hang out in the summer and in the spring and then all through the fall without any boundaries, like we get so much closer. And I feel like when we get that much closer, we're playing for our brothers, not ourselves. And I feel like that was a big part of it. And that's something so far this year has been completely different. Like everybody's getting along, everybody's meeting everyone. It's not like certain groups that have to be by themselves because we've been here, we haven't been at home, which is big.
Tyler Donahue.
Jordan, we've seen the coaching staff send you out for some very long field goals during your time on campus. Right now, what do you feel like the staff is comfortable with distance-wise for you? And what's the case you're trying to make? Like, what's your saying, let's go a little bit further to this distance?
Well, last time I had a press conference, I said 65, and then I missed the 57, and someone tweeted out that I thought your range was 65. So I'm going to say 60. And if I missed a 57, that doesn't mean I can't make it. That just means maybe I hit the ball a little bad.
New bias Wilborn.
I remember first getting to know you, talked a lot about nutrition and goals. Going back to last season, what are some things that you've learned, particularly from when you were isolated a little bit more, that you've been able to take over now when it comes to diet, nutrition, and your overall health?
I feel like I've been pretty consistent with my health ever since I got here. I eat all 3 meals every day. I'm taking creatine to try to build a little more muscle, but other than that, I try to eat a big breakfast, big lunch, and big dinner because I'm trying to gain a little weight, get a little bulkier. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing specific.
Roger Snyder.
Hey, Jordan, what's been the most impressive thing you've seen one of your teammates do this spring, whether it's, when you're standing around at practice or maybe it's one of the specialists?
Tough question. I think I would have to say how explosive Jahan is. Like, we saw it last year, but I feel like he's been working really hard, and like it's just crazy to watch him catch the ball and then get up to full speed as fast as he does. I feel like that'd probably have to be the most impressive thing I've been seeing.
Mark Brennan.
Jordan, I know you can't give specific details, but are you in the coach's ears about maybe trying a fake, whether as a punter or a holder? I know a lot of guys who are those specialists like to get their opportunity.
Oh yeah, I mean, every team has fakes, and Franklin comes up to me sometimes and like he sees my test numbers where I'm a little bit of an athlete, and he mentions like maybe running a fake, but I mean, yeah, I'm always in their ear trying to run one, but who knows what's going to happen.
Tyler Donahue.
Jordan, you've been kind of a rare case as a transfer coming in on scholarship, and that changed a lot this winter. 4 guys on board already, another coming later in the year on scholarship. What do you think that says about Penn State adjusting their approach a little bit? And from your standpoint, how does the program ease that transition of making the move from another program?
Are you talking about transfers coming to here?
Yeah, for the last few years with the portal, you've been like probably the primary success story, and now they kind of dove in head first this year with scholarship guys.
Yeah, I think it's really big being in another school, being more mature and having experience compared to bringing a freshman in on scholarship. I feel like, especially with Lorg, he's noticed that. Coming in here, I'm repeating myself, but I was mature and I knew what I was doing. I handled my business. I didn't get in trouble. And so from him seeing that, he's bringing in more transfers because he likes to have a mature and older room. And I feel like he'll consistently continue to do that as long as he's here.
Any other questions for Jordan?
Yes. Jordan mentioned his measurables for potential fake. So what are these measurables? What's the 40 time? What we got here, man?
It's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's like probably about a 4.6 in 4.6 is 40. My shuttle was a 4.06. Broad was like right at 10. Triple broad, I think. No, triple broad was 30. And then broad was 10. Is that right?
Well, you're faster than all of us except for Joe Giuliano, so maybe Audrey.
Audrey's pretty fast.
No, I think you got us all beat. Jordan, what you mentioned a little bit earlier about the camaraderie, and obviously with all the stipulations last year, restrictions, you guys couldn't do that. What's the thing or the one aspect that you're most excited about this year? What's the one thing where you say, man, this is what I missed most, not being able to gather last year?
I mean, us being together, like that's what I miss most, and everyone getting to know each other. I just feel like our chemistry is so much better, especially in the special teams room. Like, we're all competing and we all try to beat each other, but at the same time, we're all like best friends. And I know that's how the quarterbacks, the tight ends, that's how everyone is here, especially right now. And that's something I haven't seen to this extent since I've been here.
Last question, Tyler Donahue.
Last week we had Sean Clifford on a call, and he discussed the importance of, I guess, handling the benching as best he could and then rebounding from that. This offseason, have you seen any kind of difference from Sean? Is there a different air about him going through that setback and then moving forward with the program?
Sean's hungry. I'll leave it at that.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Jordan, for your time this afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll have Keenan Ellis on 3. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Jordan.